Hey guys, it's your boy Jackie. Today we're going over the best settings for Season 16. We're going to be focusing on frame rate and making sure our game looks as beautiful and as clear and as vivid as possible. Alright, let's get to it. Best settings for me, I try to get, as much visual clutter off my screen as possible. And these settings allow me to do that. So to start off with the interact prompt style, I always have it at compact. I have no button hints off. Crosshair damage feedback is off. I don't want to see the X when I'm shooting, when I know what I'm hitting. Damage numbers, I always have it at stacking. Ping opacity, I have it at faded. Obituaries, I have on, obviously. Minimap rotation off. Weapon auto cycle on empty off. That is horrible setting. Take it off, please. Auto sprint is off, double tap sprint is off. If you're a Valk player, this is just personal preference, but I have it on hold. Incoming damage feedback, I have it greedy. This is an important setting right here. I always have this set to off, so whenever I'm taking damage, when I'm looting a death box, it doesn't take me out of the menu. So that can really mess people up, so definitely take this off. This one's big priority. Hop up, pop up, I keep that on for other weapons that I'm looking for any top up setting. Streamer mode, I have that off. I'm not famous yet. Anonymous mode is disabled. See, performance display, I keep this on. This is where I can see my frames, my packet loss, my chug, my ping, everything on top right corner. Open device, this is personal preference. I just have it enabled. My communication filter, I have it on everybody. See, for reticle, I run the bright green. Sometimes I run rose pink, but green always just shows up the best for me. And then laser sight, I always have to change this every time, but usually I do red or lime green. For colorblind mode, I have this on off. It's personal preference for anybody. A lot of people like to run it on Trinopia because it makes the colors look brighter. And it looks good too. It's the closest thing to having no colorblind mode off. But yeah, personal preference for you guys. For subtitles, I have them off, and everything down here is just normal off. I just try to keep as much visual clutter off my screen as possible. These are my keybinds. Now these are all just personal preference. Everybody is different. Everyone plays the game differently. So if these keybinds help, you're more than welcome to try them out. But if not, yeah, just keep rocking with what you're rocking. The settings here, you want to have mouse acceleration turned off, mouse invert off, and then you can have lighting effects on or off. It just depends on what keyboards and mice you have that make this possible. I run a high sense 1600 DPI 0.82, and then I have custom ADS sense as well. So for 1x iron sights, it's at 1.05. My 2, 3, and 4 times optics are 1.2, and then 6x, 8x, and 10 are all 1.3. I don't use controller. If I did, I'd either just run 4-3 classic, or if I'm feeling myself, I'll do nice wig settings for ALCs. Alright, so my video settings. Pay attention for this one. I typically play on stretch res. I play on 2080 by 1300. I have an ultra wide monitor, so the native resolution for that is 2560 by 1440. So this resolution is going to be different for most of you guys. I assume you guys are running 1920 by 1080, which is good. The stretch res for 1920 by 1080 is 1920 by 1200. This is the stretch res for that. I typically pull the most frames on stretch res versus native. You can still pull max frames on native. It just depends on your PC, on your specs, how good your gear is. So let's see, brightness, I just have it at 50%. FOV, I plan 110. With bigger monitors, the bigger FOV tends to fit a lot better for me, so I'm able to play a lot better on the higher FOV here. When I was playing on 1920 by 1080, I was around 102 to 104 FOV. That was the sweet spot. And then FOV ability scaling, I have this turned off. So for people that play Octane or Bloodhound, whenever you use Octane's Q, your FOV expands when you're sprinting. When you're playing Bloodhound, when you ult, the FOV expands when you're ulting. And disabling this, it just takes those effects right off. You don't need that messing with your eyes or anything like that. So just disable it. The best thing for you. Sprint view shake, I just have it to minimal. Advanced video settings. These settings are going to be the reason why you're getting so many more frames in your games. So for VSync, I have it turned off. Reassures me that my screen's not going to tear. There's going to be no input lag or anything on my controls. In video reflex, I have this on enabled plus boost. It just helps reduce system latency and increases the PC's responsiveness. Adaptive resolution, FPS, I just keep this at 0, so you don't have to worry about that. Anti-aliasing, I just keep it on none. Now this is an important setting, texture streaming budget. Now this is all clearly dependent on your PC, on your specs. I have this set to the max because I have 8 gigs of RAM in my video card, and then I have 32 gigs of RAM included with that. So what this setting means is you're telling your video card to work as hard as you want it to. So if my video card has 8 gigs of RAM, I want it to be working at 100%. I want it to be working to its fullest potential, so I can pull the best frames possible, so I can make my game run as smooth and as fluid as possible. If your video card doesn't have up to 8 gigs, that's fine. They have different settings for that. And if your PC doesn't have 8 gigs of RAM, you know, that's fine. Just work within your means, work with what you have. So if your video card has 6 gigs of RAM, then I recommend, you know, putting it up to 6 gigs of RAM. But if it feels shaky, if it feels weird, then that's fine. You can bring it down to 4 and just play within this range. See, texture filtering, I have it set to bilinear. Ambient occlusion, I have it disabled. Sun and shadow detail, I have it all set to low. Spot shadow detail, I have it set to low. Volumetric lighting is disabled. Dynamic spot shadows are disabled. Anything but shadows is disabled. You know, I just want to be able to see whatever I want to be able to see. The model detail is low, effects are low, impact marks are high, and ragdolls are low. And then my audio, for the culture, I have my master volume at 69, and then all of these are just personal preference. These shouldn't really matter, but you set these settings to whatever you feel is perfect for you. And now that we've gone over the Apex settings, let me go into our NVIDIA control panel and you guys can look at these monitor settings. All right, so we're here in NVIDIA control panel in our first category, adjust image settings. I always have this set to performance. So performance is gonna increase my frame rate. Even though curved lines will appear, I don't really see a lot of curved lines when I play Apex, but I rarely see this problem in Apex, so you shouldn't have to worry about that. But I definitely prefer performance over quality. And here we go, the 3D settings in NVIDIA control panel. So image scaling, I have it set to off. Ambient occlusion, off as well. Tropic filtering, I have it set to off. Anti-aliasing, off. The anti-aliasing gamma correction, on. I just have this on so it can just, you know, make the colors more brighter, more vibrant. Anti-aliasing mode, I have this on off. Background application maximum frame rate, I have this one off as well. And then this setting here, CDUA, GPUs, this is going to be set to on. For the most part, everyone should just have one graphics card. So all these settings, it just wants to know what all these settings are going to go into. DSR factors, I have these turned off. Low latency mode, I have this turned on. Max frame rate, this is personal preference, I have it off. Monitor technology, G-Sync compatible, we'll be getting to that later on. But I would just have it set to this, yep. I would just have it set to G-Sync compatible. Multi-frame sample AA, I have it set to off. Let's see, both these settings for OpenGL, I have that set to auto and auto select. See, power management mode, I have it set to adaptive. Preferred refresh rate, this is dependent on your monitor. I have a 240 hertz monitor, so I want the setting to be as high as possible. I want it to go up to 240 frames, 240 hertz. Shader cache size, I have it set to driver default. See, texture filtering, I have this one set to on. Texture filtering, negative LOD bias, I have this on allow. Texture filtering quality, I have this set to high performance. Trilinear optimization, I have it set to on. And then right below that, threaded optimization, I have it set to auto. I have triple buffering and vertical sync off. Let's see, I don't have virtual reality, so I don't mess with these settings. And then Vulkan / OpenGL, I have it set to auto. Next, we're gonna go to desktop color settings. You can set these settings on one or different monitors that you have. Just make sure you click on the one that you want before you start this. So for my main monitor, I have the color channel as all channels. I bring my brightness down to 45%. I keep the contrast at 50%. The gamma is at 1.0. And then the biggest thing here is the digital vibrance. This is going to bring the color to make it pop for your game. So the sweet spot for me has been 75%. I think the highest I'd recommend is like 80%. Anything more than that is just too much. But 75% and below is good enough. And I keep my hue at 0%. And the last setting we'll go over is G-Sync. Now this is also entirely dependent on you if your monitor has G-Sync or if it's G-Sync compatible. So G-Sync is a hardware-based technology that helps prevent screen tearing and stuttering in your game. With a G-Sync monitor, it makes your games a lot more smooth. It reduces latency, it reduces input lag, even at the highest refresh rates. So what you'll do is you'll click this box, you'll enable G-Sync compatible. If your monitor is G-Sync compatible, it'll show a little text script right here. So if you see that under one of your monitors, you can enable G-Sync, enable it for full screen mode, click on the monitor that is G-Sync compatible, click on enable settings for this selected display model. And then once you do that, you're gonna hit apply in the bottom right corner of your screen. and then you're good to go. Now that you guys all tweaked your settings, you guys are now ready to go and grind Season 16 of Apex. I hope this video helped you guys out. Leave a like and comment below if these settings helped you out. If you guys ran into any issues, let me know in the comments and I'll help you guys out to the best of my ability and we'll get you guys squared away. Thank you guys so much for tuning into the video. Y'all take it easy and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.